over the last 35 years, we've had an increase in digestive issues by almost 17%. We've had an increase of cancer from over 5 million to over 8 millions, and I'm talking just of this generation. And mental health struggles, just since COVID time, has also increased by over 25%. We have gone through a crazy change in just one generation.
I'm sitting down with Chiara, a health and longevity expert featured in TEDx, Forbes, and Dubai One TV. She's helped thousands optimize their health through her energy upgrade programs and cutting-edge wellness insights.
So stress releases cortisol, and cortisol also, if it's being released in our body for a prolonged amount of time, that is then when we start having more chronic concerns that need to be looked over time.
Where's that point where I know that I'm really stressed and I need to do something?
We have to realize physically in the body what is happening and be more aware of that in order to realize if this is actually some stressors that we're living. And of course, we can be aware if our heart rate, for example, is going faster than usual.
If this was the last podcast you ever did, what is your message to the world? Chiara, I was watching your TED Talk and something really stood out to me. It said your father died of cancer, your mom survived and had it, and your sister fell into depression. You went also through a really tough time. Can you take me back to that time and tell me, how did you what was going through your mind?
Mm-hmm. Okay, wow, we're starting from the tough stuff. Yeah, thank you for that. Yes, exactly. Look, I believe everything that, of course, is closest to us affects us the deepest way. And what happened to my family, of course, was very life-changing for me. And how did I go through it? Well, it's been, of course, an evolution of so many emotions. And some of them, of course, I was not even able to process them or be aware of them. So I believe, let's say, rewind to 7 years ago when I actually moved here to Dubai, everything started happening.
7 years ago?
Yes.
The minute you came here?
Exactly. The same year that I moved here, a couple of months after my dad passed away and he died of cancer. He was actually fighting with metastasis. So when he found out, he was actually already at the latest stage of cancer, and he fought for 1 year. They put him, on chemotherapy and all of that, and it did unfortunately not help him because it just got worse in a very quick amount of time. And so this is unfortunately how I started one of my most beautiful times of my life, because when I actually moved to Dubai, it was for me such an exciting time. Like I was literally living my dream. Like I moved here, new life. I was actually so excited of, starting this new chapter. And at the same time, I had something very strong happening to me that, actually started then everything else that happened.
You said something, that word, meta something.
Metastasis.
What is that?
So metastasis is basically the last stage of cancer. So you have different stages. 4 is the last stage of cancer. And that is when actually your defecting cells are already spread all over the body. So usually cancer starts from one point in the body and then it spreads if it's not treated or if it's not, again, if the symptoms are not managed. And that is what happened to my dad. So when he had the symptoms that he actually felt in his body and was able to visibly see them, that is when he went to the hospital. And unfortunately, again, that's when they found that the stage of cancer was already too late to treat, because technically it should be actually pinpointed at the early stages, stage 1, stage 2.
And there was no signs before?
There were no signs before. Unfortunately, yes, this is what then led me actually to give so much importance to preventative medicine, because my dad never really felt any symptoms, or maybe did not even pay that much attention to the symptoms that he was having. And on top of that, never really cared about going to the hospital to do usual routine diagnostics and screenings, which is actually something that everyone should start to be doing already from our 30s onwards. So,
30s onwards?
Yes.
Okay. And then you said, there was a part where I also read about you had the Crohn's disease.
Yeah.
Tell me a bit about that. How does it affect you and how do you get over it?
Yeah, exactly. Well, exactly. Crohn's disease was one of the many health conditions that I started struggling with then over the past few years. And that was around COVID time, so 2020. And there as well, it scared me a bit because I started having visible symptoms that I was aware of. And it started with blood in my stool. So it was absolutely not comfortable. And that kind of reconnected me actually to the experience of what my dad went through. And I was like, okay, I need to start figuring out what is happening right now.
Yeah.
And at that point, I started doing different visits around the hospitals here in Dubai. Kind of know all of them pretty much now. But yeah, it was a very, very tough year and a half, if not more. And that is when, through the testing, the doctors were trying to figure out what it was. And they were telling me, no, we see that everything is fine. It does not look that you have actually anything. And then I was receiving so many different feedbacks because there was actually another symptoms afterwards that I started feeling together with that of the stool. It was actually pain and a sharp pain in the right side that also prevented me from walking, resting well, sleeping well. And yeah, that was basically why I was having so many different conflicting diagnoses. And they told me I had a broken rib. Then they
Oh,
told me
wow.
we are actually not able to understand from the other pains because everything looks that is fine. And then we went to do stool testing, colonoscopy, and from the colonoscopy, that is when they diagnose, okay, now we can actually identify that you have Crohn's disease, and this is the closest thing that we can say that you're now experiencing because of different symptoms. Yeah.
And for someone that doesn't know about the Crohn's disease, what is that?
So basically, Crohn's disease is one of different type of digestive issues that we can that can afflict our gut, and usually it has to do with an inflammation in the intestinal walls of the gut. So whenever there is any inflammation in the gut, that can also create other concerns such as IBD, irritable bowel syndrome, or
Right.
IBS, and leaky gut. It's always when we do have an inflammation in the intestinal walls, and then there can be some intestine permeability and the gut is not able to absorb nutrients in the right way anymore, but also the toxins and the parasites of whatever we're eating or absorbing are not able to stay in the gut and be expelled properly. They actually go and impact the other organs. And it can create bleeding because there can be inflammation on the intestinal walls, and this is why then it can create a lot of discomfort. And again, it's always part of one of those chronic autoimmune diseases, because in the end it's also autoimmune, which is again so much rampant over the last generation that we're living in.
Do you think that it's increasing with time, the autoimmune?
Yes, absolutely, exactly. And this is also something that I've gone through a lot into understanding how much it's affecting us, because we're living in an era where we have the highest technological advance, the best medical advancement as well, and at the same time we're actually living also the peak of disease. And all of this is literally just in our lifetime of our generation, which is crazy if you think about it, because now over the last 30 years, 35 years, we've had an increase in digestive issues by almost 70%.
70?
70%,
Wow.
yes, from the 1980s. We've had an increase of cancer from over 5 million to over 8 millions.
That's a big jump.
Yes, and I'm talking just of this generation. We've had an increase of diabetes also by, again, similar numbers, by over 5-6 millions to over 20 millions. So
wow.
That has increased a lot as well. And mental health struggles, just since COVID time, has also increased by over 25%. So we have gone through a crazy change in just one generation. And why is that? And most of it is because of the era that we're living.
Why so much increase in diseases? What do you think it is?
Yeah. So it's a very good question. And I believe, yes, we are living at a speed nowadays that has changed so much compared to all the rest of our human evolution history. And yes, that is very interesting and exciting for what concerns so many different findings that we're having nowadays related to tech, related to longevity, related to medical advancement and how to expand our lifespan. Yet at the same time, exactly because we're living at this speed of life, we are undergoing so much more stressors that are environmental stressors, that are mental stressors as well, that are actually really damaging our own health.
So it's stress that's the main cause,
Yes.
the root cause. I want you to take me back. You've said you've been to many different hospitals and you've healed. What is a misconception people have about healing and getting better? Like, what do people often misunderstand about it?
Earlier on in the days, we were really used to go to the doctor only when we actually were sick. And this is what we also were taught when we were kids. And, you're sick, okay, you go to the doctor.
Exactly.
And this is actually also what happened to my family and my dad. And whenever only they actually felt their body was literally collapsing and falling apart, that is when they went to the doctor.
I usually push it away. I say, I don't want to go.
Yeah.
I'm not sick until it's like in front of your face, right?
Yeah.
And there's no other option.
Exactly. And it has been like this so far. Yet at the same time, I believe we're also living an era now where we are more health aware and more mindful of what is happening to our bodies, and we are more interested in knowing what is happening into our bodies. That's why we are more open to go for preventative medicine, diagnostics, and visits that not only can expand our lifespan, but also more importantly improve our health and make sure that we can pinpoint if there are certain health conditions that we're not aware of and make sure that we can reverse them.
You've said that health has a lot to do with what you eat and your healthy lifestyle. You got over a very tough time in your life, and with the Crohn's disease that you had. Is part of getting over something like that healthy food, or do you think it's more about mindset?
I like this question. And it's a very good point to start from. This is the realization also that I had that then I brought into my TED Talk. And when I started investigating and why I had Crohn's disease and why the medications were not working and what I could do to improve it, I started from nutrition. And I was like, what can I do if I am living with this and with this constant daily struggle and pain? What can I do to solve it? There must be a way. So let me kind of biohack myself and understand how to do that. And I saw, of course, most of the biggest results in being in nutrition. And I was already a very healthy person. But at the same time, I found that I could adjust few things. And it was my exposure to gluten, it was my exposure to sugars, it was my exposure to certain combinations of foods that I could avoid. And on top of that, adding also the game of supplementation for me was a big game changer. And that is when I started feeling the effects of whatever I was doing and feeling the improvement of that. Yet at the same time, I realized also that the condition of what I had started in a very stressful time of my life. And when I was able to understand, okay, now I feel also that my symptoms are improving, but what has been improving has also been around myself, my environment, and the stressors that I'm actually experiencing, they're actually going away. Now I feel my symptoms are improving. Well, that was a big game changer for me.
So you're saying you're already eating healthy, the symptoms show up, you find out there are things wrong, and then you realize that when the stress started going away is actually when the problem started going away and the health became better.
Yes.
It's so fascinating how mental health can affect your physical body, right?
Yes, absolutely.
I can relate to your personal health issues. I was, I started a healthy food brand because I was looking for healthy food options and I wasn't finding it. I wanted something that was nutritious and healthy, at the same time tasted good.
Yeah.
So I created a brand called Under 500, and we spoke about this earlier. And I wanted also to share that with the world. I wanted for others who are in the same situation to also feel, to have that option to always be able to eat healthy. What made you decide to get into health and wellness? Were you always into health and wellness, or was this the turning point for you?
I was quite always in health and wellness. Since my early days when I started working, I said, okay, I need to be active. And I started, working out as every young 20-year-old person, just interested in their own body shape and wanting to maintain physical health. And then I had my first business venture back in Italy, opening a gym because of my passion. So I did, over 15 certifications related to fitness, nutrition, just for personal interest. And then we wanted back then at the time with my ex-partner to create something that was, about creating a community and all of that. So that was my first, evolutional path into the health world. And I just learned, the more you dig into something, the more you understand that you don't know.
Exactly. So take us back one step. Who is Chiara as a kid?
Who is Chiara as a kid? Well,
you're today the health and wellness expert in the UAE. But before that, tell us, in the beginning, what was it like, and who were you as a kid?
Chiara as a kid was a very happy kid. She lived in a very loving and nurturing environment with the family. It's a very loving environment, and I was actually a very active person since I was a kid. Like I remember my mom telling me, okay, you have to slow down. We have to go and find you because every time we go outdoor, you're always running away. And she was actually comparing me to my sister. My sister at that time was actually very calm. She's like, you are like never resting. So that was me already since a kid.
And did you like sports and stuff, or?
I did not like sports in my teenagers. So that was then the time where I actually was, I can also not really, I was not really interested, but I was interested in social sports. So I started playing volleyball, and that was my first, connection with the sports world and competition and challenges. And I enjoyed it. And
how old were you at the time?
it was at high school time. So yeah, from my 13 years onwards. That was the first interesting experience to connect with people and play together, and again also in a competitional way.
It's social sport, volleyball. You get to play, get to know different people, teams, competition.
Exactly.
I love volleyball. I think social sports are excellent.
Yes.
Character building for
absolutely.
that. Yeah,
absolutely.
And then you said at 20 you decided to open a gym.
Exactly. So then I went into my corporate life, and that is when I was like, okay, I'm sitting a lot. I'm using a lot the screen. I'm using a lot my head. But
were you like in a job or?
Yes, I was working in a big hospitality group, a regional from the government hospitality group in Italy. So and then that was my corporate life for over 6 years, and I liked it, but I could not stay seated for such a long time. And I was like, okay, I need to do something to get moving. And that's how I went into working out, and I found that was my passion. And then I started studying more about it, and that is when then at my 25 years old we decided to open this wellness club, which was actually the biggest outside of the city of Bologna, which is in Italy.
So you studied health and nutrition?
Yes.
Okay, and it was always something you were interested in?
Yes.
What was it like opening your first gym?
Or
wellness club, sorry.
Yes, that was a very interesting experience because back then at the time, we literally started everything from scratch, from finding the space to painting the walls to creating the website, putting the team together. So we had a full-on experience, and which was also very grounding, very growing. And I believe we managed in less than 1 year to create a very beautiful environment, a very beautiful community that actually was missing in that place. And that was the biggest gift that I feel we managed to to give ourselves, because in the end, after all the effort, this is what we wanted to create. We wanted to create a new way for people to come together, without necessarily having just to eat and drink. And yeah, that
Sorry,
was,
go ahead. Yeah.
yeah, that was the biggest game changer for
Because
us.
usually people just go out, have dinner, have lunch, maybe in Europe, have a drink. That's pretty much the activities you can do. And you wanted to create a community area where people could go do something productive, right?
Yes, exactly.
So interesting that you were always into health and wellness. You've studied, you studied about it. You opened the gym. What happens after the gym? How did things go from there?
I carried it on for over 3 years, and then that is around the time 2017 that I actually start thinking about moving somewhere, and I was experiencing also there some personal life changes and a relationship that was coming to an end. My corporate life, that no matter how stable and good it was not satisfying me. I felt I was living something that was actually not fulfilling my own purpose. Yet I did not even know what my purpose was at the time, but I was like, I feel I need to do more.
What was that feeling? How did you know?
I knew because I just did not enjoy anymore what I was doing, and that definitely did not have to do with financial freedom at the time, and I was in a very good position at a time back there in Italy, and I was like, okay, but what should I do? I can have more for myself, and why am I doing something for others that is not really fulfilling me? And at that time was a turning point where I said, okay, I feel now, instead of living also in a relationship that is not fulfilling me anymore, what can I do for myself? And I went for a week on holiday here in Dubai. Back at the time, they actually created a connection of Bologna with Dubai through Emirates.
Flights.
The direct flight, yes.
Okay, and you decided just
and I said, yes, let me go on a week on holiday. Let me just think about what I'm going to do. And let me relax and discover what they're talking about, this Dubai and what it is. And I came here.
What did you think of Dubai? I'm very interested to know. What did you think of Dubai before you came and when you actually came? Did your perception change?
Very good question. I actually went with such an open mind about Dubai that when I came here, I found exactly everything that I was looking for.
Wow.
And back at the time, I remember when I went back to Italy, I still had my friends asking me, how is it Dubai? But is it literally just desert and Bedouins in desert with camels? And like, can you actually, go and dress normally and all of this? And this was the questions that I was having 7 years ago, because again, even Dubai was not so international back then. And there was not so much that was being talked about the Middle East when it comes to the United Arab Emirates. And I was like, yeah, I love it. And I think I'm going to move back there.
And how long did you stay here before you came to the conclusion that you wanted to stay here for 7 years?
Well, it was a very interesting happening, because when I came here that week, I just looked around and I saw so much was happening in the health and wellness industry. And I'm like, okay, this is what I love. And this is really where I feel my heart belonging. And funny enough, in that week, I got a job offer. And that was the point that made me say, yes, okay, now it's time to leave. I have my safe space, and let me take it from there. And then I got back 2 months to resign from my corporate life. Everyone was like telling me, you're crazy, why are you leaving such a good position? And in Italy, there's a lot of how do you say, a lot of trust and attachment to when it comes to owning your role, your corporate role. And that was something that that's why everyone was telling me, okay, why are you doing this?
It's like you're letting go of your personality.
Yeah, I'm letting go of my personality. I'm letting go of my role. I'm letting go of my stable future as well. And I'm like, yes, I'm leaving. So that was November 2017. In January 2018, it's when I moved here.
Very interesting. And so did you know that health and wellness was always for you, or was it something you knew all the time?
Not really. That is when, yeah, that year I was like, I feel that I want to create something in this space. And again, exactly because of what was happening to my family, that is the reason that I just started digging much more into the whole study of health, longevity,
You
supplements.
said
And
1 year before you came to Dubai the first time where you found out that your parents were sick, right?
yeah, that was exactly around that time, 2017, 18. Yeah,
And then you joined here, a health and wellness space, you said?
exactly. So I had a company that offered me a position, and then I moved here. And that is again exactly the first few months that I moved here. That then my father started struggling and eventually passed away. And I was lucky enough to manage to go on a flight back to Austria to go visit him before he actually passed away.
I'm really sorry for your loss. I also lost a parent. It's also something that can happen to anybody.
Yes, of course.
We all, health and wellness is one thing, and then there's reality, right?
Yeah.
People think about it like when it happens to you, you think that you're the only one that it happens to when you lose a parent.
True.
And then when you look around, you realize actually it's part of reality, and everybody, it's something everybody either have faced or will face at some point.
True. And this is what I believe really makes a difference for us as well into shaping our own direction. Because, of course, I mean, and I can say I was a very lucky person for how I had my life and for how I had my parents. There's people that go through much worse trauma and they get, abused, and they don't even get the chance to have loving family and all of that. So I had a very positive childhood and very good memories, which also made me the person that I am. Yet everyone lives its own life in their own experience, and whatever we're living impacts us in a certain way or the other. And I believe what happened to my family and the health journey that everyone went through impacted me in such a way where I was like, I want to understand what I can do to make sure that we can really tackle our health in a better way and really improve our lives in for the better.
So I started a healthy food company because I wanted to impact others. You started health and wellness also, and you went through that journey. Where was that point where you realized, wow, this is something that I can do to impact others as well?
I think the time where I really realized where I want to take my direction forward was when I was actually asked to have a TED Talk
Oh, wow.
over a year ago. And that is why, because when I moved to Dubai from Italy, I actually had already a good social exposure. And funny enough, people from Italy kept following me and saw my journey of opening my company in the health and wellness industry, the snack company Beauty Treats. And I actually got mentioned in a couple of magazines back then, like in a national newspaper as well in Italy. And I was actually quite surprised. I was like, wow, is this really happening to me? This is like a story of Chiara moves from Italy to Dubai. This is her entrepreneurial career. No, I'm like, okay, wow, this is interesting. And then I have some people, organizers of TED in Italy, and they asked me, Chiara, we would like for you to come and have a talk.
Wow. What
Can
did
you
that feel
please
like?
tell us your story?
Yeah.
And that for me was kind of eye-opening, because I was like, I don't have a story to tell. I am no one. I'm, who am I to have the right to step on a stage and talk about my story? It's such a little thing compared to so many other massive, millionaires and successful people out there, scientists and doctors that have really groundbreaking research coming out there. And who am I to be, someone that has the right to step on a stage and tell my story? And they said, well, you have a beautiful story. We would like for you to share it. And then I was like, okay, let me do this. And when I put together, that's when I realized I want to talk about how my health journey impacted me and how I realized that not just nutrition, but mindset as well are the most important turning factors that really can affect our health. And this is how then I decided to create a space to share my story. And this is also how I had the turning point in my head, and I said, okay, Everything that I'm sharing on my social media is about health and wellness, is about nutrition, is about longevity.
That's right.
How can I now give something to people where I can support them more? And this is when I came up with the idea of the energy upgrade program.
Your second company.
Yes, exactly. And I said, okay, I feel that everyone out there is getting more and more sick, and I had so many more requests of people telling me I have this chronic concern, I have these digestive issues, I have this mental health concern, and all of that. I'm like, wow, why are we suffering so much, and why are we not sharing that? And there is not just one fitness routine that I can do to live healthier. There's not just one nutrition plan that I need to do to live healthier. I need to look at everything together. And now we're getting more and more aware of that, of course. And that this is why I was like, okay, let me create something where we can work on all the main fundamental pillars of longevity: nutrition, exercise, mindset, and lifestyle. And since then, I was like, okay, this is the way I want to move forward, and I want to give people the space to improve their health by tackling all of these aspects.
Right. So you got two concepts or companies: beauty treats and health upgrade, energy upgrade, right? Was there a point that you ever felt like, I want to give up, I want to let go of this?
Yes, absolutely, all the time. Especially when I studied beauty treats. Again, that started from when I suffered from Crohn's, and I wanted a healthy treat that can give me the satisfaction similar to your story with under 500. Like, I wanted healthy cookies that can satisfy my sweet tooth, but still could be healthy for the struggles that I was fighting with.
Right.
So I needed something sugar-free, I needed something gluten-free, I needed something that does not have any pesticides, additives, artificials, and flavorings, because that is also inflammatory. So I said, okay, let me create this concept. And when you start something, you always learn the way when you're in the way, and the more you do. And I started, selling it everywhere, all over the UAE. And I think from what happens in the backstory, people from the outside cannot see. And I had so many times where I had to change the kitchen and, improve things logistically. And that's all that happens in the back end. And so many times I was faced with, should I really keep going? Should I really do this? And it's been now almost 2 years in the process. And when I have clients coming back and telling me, wow, I really love, what you're doing, and the taste, and the fact that I have diabetic people as well with a continuous glucose monitor on, coming back and telling me, wow, I'm having your snacks, but my blood sugars are not spiking. This is beautiful. This is what really fills my heart and makes me understand, okay, this is actually why I did it.
That's so interesting. My personal journey into health, I think at the time back in the day, when I heard about health, I thought going to the gym means you were healthy. And usually you go to somebody in the gym, a personal trainer, you look at them, you looking good, and you want to look like them. So you ask them, what can I do to look good? Yeah. I went to the personal trainer, and then that's the first time he said to me, look, it's 70% what you eat, 30% workout. And that's when it came to me as a shock. Like, no, it's not only about going to the gym, it's about eating healthy. And that's when I started exploring and understood that there's something called a meal plan, something called healthy food. But you were saying that there's food, but you're saying more important than food is mental health. Tell me about that and how stress can affect you.
We have to say that on a physical point of view, emotions directly affect our gut. And simply put, we know that whenever we do have some emotional concerns, some stressors, some excitement, very immediately we do feel already trigger in a change in our body state, because our blood flow increases, our heart rate goes faster. Maybe we can have some intestine motility that goes faster because we are living in, in an anxious moment. And these are the direct responses. But we do have certain emotions, such as stress, that, especially if they're prolonged over time, also directly affect our body. For example, stress releases cortisol, and cortisol also, if it's being released in our body for a prolonged amount of time, that is then when we start having more chronic concerns that need to be looked over time.
So I'm sitting at work on my table trying to do something, and I feel this feeling, and they say, no, it's okay, you're just thinking it, you're not really stressed. Where's that point where I know that I'm really stressed and I need to do something? Is there like a tipping point? What is that?
Yeah, it's a good question. Well, we need to consider two main factors. Number one, we have to realize physically in the body what is happening and be more aware of that in order to realize if this is actually some stressors that we're living. And of course, we can be aware if our heart rate, for example, is going faster than usual. And this is number one, because we also have a basal heart rate, and then we have a heart rate throughout the day. And nowadays, also through wearable devices, we're very able to measure how much our heart rate is impacting and changing throughout the day, which is very normal, but that's number one. Number two, we can also, from a physical point of view, understand if we are actually breathing more superficially or faster. And that is also direct relation to how stressed we are. And unfortunately, today, nowadays, every one of us is just breathing much more superficially and not as deep as possible as we should. Exactly. And the way we are breathing is a very much thoracic way of breathing. So we're breathing mainly in the chest in, because that's how society got us accustomed to, show the chest and hide the belly. So we are more used to
Show the
breathing
chest, hide the belly.
Yes,
I mean,
exactly.
mostly women, I think they...
Yes, exactly. You want to show your six pack, so you have to pull in your abs, and you cannot breathe here, but you have to breathe from your chest. So the way we got accustomed to breathe is completely wrong. We actually have to breathe in from the belly diaphragmatically, so that we can actually get in more air, and then later inflate the lungs and inflate the chest. But we forgot how to do belly breathing. We forgot how to breathe in deeper. And this is why oxygen is actually not reaching our organs, because we're just breathing superficially. So when we are in a stress state, and we automatically fasten our breath, and we also breathe more superficially. So if we realize that we have a faster heart rate, we realize that we have a faster breath, these are the first physical signs that are telling us you are stressed.
And then
Exactly.
yeah.
There's another aspect that we should consider, which is also the mental aspect. So if we realize that on a mental aspect, our thoughts are just simply going faster, never stopping, and we are not that mindful of the moment we're living in, that is also a huge indicator of, okay, now you're in a fight or flight mode, and you need to look out at what is happening.
So I'm sitting on my desk, that I start breathing faster. I noticed that my, you said breaths become faster, and I'm
Yes.
breathing. What was the second
And your
thing?
heart rate is faster.
Heart rate faster through
And
a wearable,
yes.
maybe. I noticed that I'm breathing faster, and I
Yes.
noticed that my thought is either in the future or in the past. It's not
Correct.
where I am now.
Correct. Yes.
And these are indicators that I'm not at my normal state.
Exactly. So your sympathetic nervous system is activated in this case, which is again the fight or flight state, which unfortunately nowadays for 99% of us, we are always in this state. We're less able to activate our parasympathetic nervous system. And again, we know our central nervous system is composed by both sympathetic and parasympathetic, and we need the sympathetic because that is, again, our state, our fight or flight response. So it's our state that keeps us active, keeps us alert, and keeps us focused to manage our daily tasks. Yet at the same time, if we're not able to switch off from the sympathetic system and go into parasympathetic, which is a relaxed state, is a state of recovery, it's a state where we can increase and enhance our cognitive function again. If we're never able to tap into that state and we don't know how to do that anymore, well, then there's sooner or later a break that is going to happen.
So you said it starts with breathing.
Yes.
How do I do it?
Exactly. We are breathing every single day, yet we forgot how to do that. And yes, there are so many different breathwork modalities, and this is how it's interesting for people also to be more aware of breath work being not just a mental kind of de-stressor, but literally a physical mean to support more oxygenation to our body and our organs.
And to bring that heart rate down, right?
Exactly. Bring the heart rate down is number one on a physical level. Bring the thoughts down is a second one. And this is completely everything strictly related to breath. So if we're able to slow down our breath, there's so many different technologies, there's so many different modalities that we can have as breath work that can bring us in a heightened and more energetic state, that can bring us on a more relaxed state, that can bring us on a more focused state. So there's many different modalities, but in the end, what is very important is understanding how to slow down the breath and go deeper.
Give me one actionable insight. If I'm in the office, I can do right now, I'm feeling that stress. How many minutes do I need to do breathing? And what kind of breathing is the best thing I could do to really help me get out of my stress?
Well, we can do the simplest type of breathing, that is box breathing. Box breathing, we have to visualize a square whereby we can breathe in, and this depends also on the lung and oxygen capacity of every single person, but we can breathe in for 5 seconds, hold the breath for 5 seconds, and then exhale for 5 seconds, hold the breath again for 5 seconds, and we close the square. All of this has to be done by breathing in diaphragmatically. So first of all, we have to focus on breathing in from the belly, and then breathing in from the chest, and then again exhale. And we have to almost imagine that we are creating this wave, but then again breathing in for 5, so very slowly, holding for 5, exhaling, and then holding again.
Until I get back to normal.
Yes, we can do this for 10 to 20 breaths. And already throughout the process, we will realize that our thoughts slow down, that our heart rate slow down, and we are automatically bringing more oxygen to the brain, bringing more oxygen through the organs. Why? Because we're inhaling more oxygen, and we allow, by holding our breath, to make sure that our carbon dioxide, which is actually the real taxi of the oxygen to the organs, gets the time to reach the organs. And if we're not doing that, because we're breathing superficially, the carbon dioxide doesn't have the time to bring the oxygen to the organs, and the oxygen is just staying in the blood.
It's like, I know so many people, they want to get healthy, they run, they hit the gym, they go really intense, they start, they get burnt out so fast. I heard you once said that it's not about your genes, it's about your food and your mental thoughts. Tell me more about that.
Yes, this opens the conversation of epigenetics. So we have genetics, which is our unique DNA sequence that cannot be changed, but we also have epigenetics. And epigenetics study how our environment and everything around us can turn on or off our genes. So how our genes are read, which means that even if we do have a genetic predisposition to develop certain diseases, such as cancer, such as Alzheimer's, such as Parkinson's, because our parents, our genetic line shows us that we're actually predisposed or more likely to have that, it does not mean that we're doomed to it. And how can we change that? We can change that through our epigenetics. And epigenetics is literally the sum of our environment, as in nutrition, exercise, community that we are exposed to, so our social life and interaction, and the mindset, so the way we perceive our own world and the way we're able to interact also with what is around us.
So if you change your food and where you are, sorry, you said change your food, change
your exercise, how active you are, and also your environment in terms of social connectedness.
You can actually hack your genes then.
Yes, and again, epigenetics is and makes up our defines. So epigenetics defines our DNA by a 98%. So we are able to change the way our DNA is read, and we have a power to do that for 98%. As opposed to how much our DNA is doomed to be.
What do you say to someone who says, look, I'm 40 now, imagine a BMW car, I had it for 5 years, the warranty just ran out, I'm 40 years old, and now everything starts to show up. You're saying no. You're saying if you change the way you work
Yes.
out, what you eat, where you are, you can actually reverse that.
Absolutely. Exactly. And the beauty of what you're saying is that we can do that at any age that we're living in. So it's never too late to change your environment, to change your habits, to change your nutrition, and to change your exercise and your lifestyle.
So that friend of mine that I said that went into a crash diet and hit the gym really hard and tried and got burnt out. You were saying it's about daily habits and
Yes.
focusing on those three things, which is your food, your environment, and your workout.
Yes.
And eventually you can actually change that course.
Yes. Absolutely. At any age that you're in. And this is how powerful it is, because again, we are really able to flip the script, and this was not what we were grown to believe until just a generation ago. We thought, okay, the way my parents are is the way that I am going to be. If I have these genes, I have bad genes, I will eventually die of cancer, I will get cancer, I will, die at this age. But this is not the case, and we're able to change that through the way we live and through the way we think.
What is the biggest, speaking of the way you think, what is the biggest misconception people have about being healthy?
Nowadays, there's so much that we can talk about. Like, we are living also in an era where we have seen a lot of this shift going from the importance of fitness, first of all, so physical health. Back in the 80s, it was all about that. It's also when, we had more exposure to gyms, to the importance of working out outside of our home environment. So we had this shift from fitness to wellness, and then a lot more awareness of gentle moves and yoga and mindfulness and what we are doing in our nutrition. So fitness, wellness, and now longevity. And now it's about lengthening our lifespan, and it's what can we do to really hack our bodies to make sure that we can live longer. So what I believe is the misconception that is happening is we can now do a lot to be healthy on a physical level, but we still have to consider so much more on a mental level. We have so much to consider about that, and how that can affect our physical health. And there is more awareness coming out. There is so much more of also technical, like so much of tech devices now. They're also supporting to bring our mental state to a more calm and relaxed state, which again we forgot how to do. Exactly. So there's measuring devices.
You're wearing the ring, right?
Exactly, I'm wearing the ring. But there's so many more devices also that are coming out that are able to play with our brainwave state. So bring it from a usual beta state, which is the state of, again, alertness, more stressfulness if we're more exposed to this state. And they're able to bring it down from a beta state to a theta or delta state, or even alpha state, which is, again, a more relaxed brainwave state that is able also to give us more recovery.
A device can do that?
Yes, and there's so many different devices now that are coming out. It's also wearables that we can have. So many brands that are coming out. There's one that is called Happy. There's one that is called...
what does it do to you? It actually it bring...
Pulsetto and Happy are two brands, and they work in a specific different way. Through modulating the frequencies that you have in your body.
But you're saying it's about the way you're breathing, really. If I had to derive something, it's about the way you're breathing. So would the device help you? Like theta's, you wake up, correct me if I'm wrong, but theta is when you wake up, or about to sleep, you get in the theta stage, right? Before you go to deep sleep.
Yes, correct.
So how would that device help you to get to that stage?
Yeah. So again, depending on the devices, they work on different frequencies, but those that work through modulating your brainwave state is literally by emitting a frequency that aligns with the frequency that we have to go down to go to. So again, there's different. Our brain is emitting different brainwave states through the signaling of neurons. They talk to each other and literally emit different frequencies, and they're measured in hertz. So we have, let's say, a very non-active state that is 0 hearts, and then again, depending on what our level is, and now I don't know specifically about the number, but we are then emitting certain different frequencies. So if we are continually exposed to a beta state and a beta wave, different modules, different techniques, approaches, or devices nowadays help me to lower this state and go to a more relaxed state. So breathing is the most natural technique that we can do to literally lower our brain waves. And nowadays, again, because we forgot how to breathe, because we know also that we want to do business, of course, tech is coming in and also helping us into understanding, okay, what is it that we can do to support us to release and bring down the stressors and actually go to a point where we should be able to go also naturally.
Exactly. And, a lot of VCs that I speak to, they really are looking to invest in health tech.
Yes.
It's become huge.
Yes.
Mahmoud, find me a company. So I think a really important thing for people is health and success.
Yeah.
What is one golden rule for someone to follow to be healthy and successful?
For people to be healthy, first of all, again, it's everything that we discussed. So we need to be able to create an environment in our own mind, but also an environment around us that we can enjoy and that we can live good with. So again, the way we nourish ourselves, the way we exercise, the way we connect with other people is fundamental. And also the way we nourish our minds through what we do, through the way we think, is fundamental to live healthy. So looking at all these aspects is one. And then if we also want to be successful, then of course, trying to understand what is the thing that makes us feel the most alive, that we want to share with the world, is the most important thing, because eventually everyone will have its own different purpose, and this is what is the beauty of being alive. Purpose. And trying to live in this world. And I believe that the biggest thing for us is to understand what it is that on this earth we want to create, because this is the biggest gift.
Understand your purpose, focus on your food, exercise, mental health.
Yes. And
that is a golden rule for being happy.
Yes.
Amazing. Very well said. It's Ramadan. A lot of people will be fasting in this time. I'm sure you've observed Ramadan in this part of the world. Tell us, what are tips you have for someone in this holy month?
I actually did Ramadan as well one year.
You fasted?
Yes, I did.
Amazing. So
Yes, exactly. What is the tips that...
what is tips you can give to someone in Ramadan to stay, to be in that good mental state, to keep healthy?
Yeah, I think this is actually what I was also trying to talk about a lot on my socials these days, because I'm like, now that Ramadan is starting, with my clients, we are literally undergoing through this journey of cleansing from the inside out. And this is the whole purpose of Ramadan itself. It's to connect more with our own body and mind and make sure that we can literally detoxify and connect closer to God. And what is important is, of course, to make sure that we're able to enter this space by nourishing our bodies the right way. Of course, we will enjoy during Ramadan social gatherings and the good foods, which is, of course, part of the tradition. It's like Christmas for us, but for the 30 days instead of 1 day.
What's a 30-day reset plan that, it's kind of Ramadan? What are things that you can do in that you should be aware of to be healthy?
Yes. So fasting will be, of course, the most interesting part of the process, because it will allow our body to regenerate during the time we are fasting. And this is the most important thing. So eventually we will actually, during Ramadan, not fast that many hours, because it will be 12 to 14 hours maybe. So it's not that excessive as a fasting length compared to other protocols that we can follow. Yet, of course, the absence of water will be very long as an exposure to that. So fasting is going to help us from, again, to support our autophagy and our cellular cleansing. So we will get rid of the senescent cells, which is, the zombie cells in our system. We will able to detoxify, because we're allowing our digestive system to rest from food, and our liver also to rest from elaborating and metabolizing all the foods. So allowing this rest is what will regenerate from the inside out. So this time is crucial to already activate these longevity pathways and these healing pathways that we're actually not doing maybe all the rest of the year. At the same time, it's very important that we focus also on what we are doing the rest of the night when we actually start our iftar and when we end with our suhoor. So
It's so interesting you're saying that. I know people, they gain weight in Ramadan.
exactly.
And it's a common thing.
Yes, it's a very common thing because, of course, what happens then at nighttime, we overindulge because we enjoy the social occasions, we want to gather and unite. But what happens is that we're actually doing two main things. Of course, we switch our circadian rhythm, which means our daytime life goes to nighttime life.
Exactly.
So of course our bodies are not made to digest foods at nighttime. Ideally, we're meant to eat foods at daytime under daylight, and then they rest and digest and sleep at nighttime. So we're switching off our circadian rhythm. So this is already affecting, of course, the way we can metabolize food, because automatically at nighttime our digestive system is slowing down. So we are less able to digest foods quickly. And of course, we eat more. So what is very important is if we have to say, let's say, a golden rule to follow for people fasting on Ramadan. As soon as we break the fast, do it how you want, eat your date. You can, do your prayers, but most importantly, hydrate yourself. And how to hydrate yourself is not just with water, is actually adding lemon and salt to it. And this is the most powerful natural hack, and natural electrolytes that you can give to your body to hydrate it before you actually start your meal.
Lemon water.
Yes,
How many
lemon,
minutes?
water, and salt.
And so how many minutes before the meal?
Well, that is as long as you have it before the meal, you're already hydrating. And that's the most important thing, because again, the salts in the water, and there's different salts. I usually suggest Maldon salt or Celtic salt. They're the richest, they have the richest amount of minerals in it. So they're very important into hydrating our body. And lemon, because it's a powerful antioxidant that is also very rich in vitamin C. And combining all of this in the water is going to really flush our toxins away. And it's very important to do that exactly after fasting, because we actually want to detoxify. So our body gathered all the toxins, had this time to really regenerate itself. Okay, now let's give it the right hydration to flush the toxins away and to really refill the organs before we actually go into eating bread or gluten that is, again, more inflammatory.
So I break my fast with this, and then I can go pray and then come back and have my meal or my date or my food, right?
Yes, also, exactly. This can also be absolutely the first thing to have. Yes.
Okay, but it's not necessary to be the first thing. It can be later on.
Well, if we have been fasting for over 12 hours,
Yeah.
the first thing you want to do is actually hydrate yourself.
Okay.
So starting with water, lemon, and salt is the best thing. Of course, after that, we can enjoy our meals. Yeah. But again, it's important to do it also throughout the night. And this is why also when it comes, to the fanciest brands of electrolytes, I say, okay, you can have whatever you want if you try to avoid most processed electrolytes that have a lot of added sugars in it that also spike our blood sugars, or have a lot of artificials. It's best to avoid them. There's some electrolytes that do have natural sugars, such as stevia or monk fruit. They're actually very good. And if we're fasting, I would suggest to go for these options. And actually, every single day of our fasting, they have more electrolytes throughout the night. But this natural drink is cheap, and it's natural, and it's much more healthy. And we should have it also every day.
You've been featured on TEDx, Forbes, Dubai One TV. How has that changed your ability to impact people?
I think the fact that nowadays we have the chance to be exposed so much to media really allows us to understand what it is that we want to share with the world. And this is why being able to go on the TED stage was for me the turning point into understanding, what do I really want to talk about? Yes, I do have a story to share, but what is it that I want to help people with? And I want to help people with getting healthier. I want to help people with understanding how to approach their mind and body relationship. And for me, this has been the biggest turning point, making sure that we have more awareness and being able, yes, to tackle our health from early on instead of, just living life without realizing what is happening to us. So, yeah.
Your work has a lot to do with longevity and living a long life. How do you personally balance living in the moment with your healthy life?
Well, I think that bringing in a daily routine, little things that actually can impact our life positively is the most important thing. This is why sometimes I also say to my clients or to everyone, it's not about overdoing. Now we are exposed and living in a society that tells us to do as much as we can because that's about thriving and being successful, and fill your hours as much as you can because that's the way to succeed. Well, it's actually not true, because again, we need time to reset, we need time to digest, and we need time to rest. So sometimes doing less is more. And that's why nowadays, also when it comes to longevity and to people being very nerd about longevity and biohacking, I'm doing this, I'm waking up at 5 a.m. and then I'm, drinking this and I'm exposing myself to red light, and then I go to ice bath and sauna, and then my day is over because I've just been biohacking myself the whole day.
Yeah.
But what is the one or two things that we can do on a daily basis that are good for us? And this is so different for every single person, because we might need something that affects us and is more beneficial from a physical point of view. We might need something that is more beneficial from a mental point of view.
Like now we're sitting, okay, me and you, we're talking about health, but I take out a piece of cake and it's your favorite cake. How do you balance whether you should affect your mental health and go for the cake or stay healthy and think about healthy stuff?
Well, first of all, we need to see if it's weekday or weekend.
Okay.
So my balance is trying to do what I can on a weekly basis, 5 days out of 7, that make me feel well, because I know that routine, and I know that sticking to my routine makes me feel good.
Okay,
And
it's your favorite cake and it's not gonna come back and it's right here, and you can't take it takeaway for the weekend. How do you decide? How do you decide what you're gonna do?
I'm gonna have it.
So mental health first.
Yes, mental health first. I'm gonna have it because I know that I can enjoy it. I want to enjoy the whole situation also. No, we're together, I enjoy this moment, having the cake, and I know it will make me feel good. And then what is after that I can do to feel good? Maybe I'm gonna go for an outdoor walk that will already make me burn calories effortlessly, and maybe I will
enjoy the moment and then burn it off.
Yes, and then balance with it when I can. The rest of the day or the next day, maybe I will not indulge again, and I will just.
People watching this are probably fasting now and thinking about that cake, but it's really interesting that you decided to go for the cake, and I think I think it's a good choice. I would go for the cake. I like to stay healthy, but I don't like to miss the moment as well. I think burn it off, walk it off. Yes. As long as you keep 5 out of 7 days healthy, you're pretty much in the good zone.
Exactly. It's always the 80% rule. So if we are able to find our balance and live also without too much guilt and restrictions of what we do, this is absolutely the most important thing.
Because that also, at some point, it makes you want to just burn out, right?
Yes,
and throw it away and go back to overindulgence.
Yes.
If this was the last podcast you ever did, what is your message to the world?
To live fully, to love wholeheartedly, and to be present as much as we can. And I think nowadays this is exactly what we're missing. We're just so much living in a state of anxiety for the future, speed in the present, and regret or pain about the past, that we're so lost into not being present. And if we're not present, we're not able to connect, and we're not able to live the beautiful life that we're given.
Exactly. Very well said. If someone enjoys this conversation, enjoys your work, they want to reach out to you, where's the best place to find you?
Well, they can find me on Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
Chiara Seidenader. It's a very complicated name. Nobody gets it. So, yes, you can find me on Instagram. I recently started also my YouTube and TikTok channels, but I'm very not that advanced in there. And yeah, I'm sharing my space. I'm sharing my knowledge, and it's a never-ending journey.
Amazing. Before I say goodbye, 91% of people that watch this podcast are not pressing the subscribe button. So, guys, please subscribe for more
Please subscribe.
for more interesting stories. And Chiara, you've been amazing. You've shared some really, really excellent insights, not just about your personal journey, but like actionable tips for everyone to do, especially now in this time. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It was a real pleasure.